Welcome to the Athlete Insights Podcast, hosted by Yash Pad Day, a podcast focused on letting athletes tell their journeys in their sport. This podcast is presented by Boxed Water. Boxed water is better.
Welcome into another episode of the Athlete Insights Podcast. Today I'm joined by senior quarterback at Broomfield High School here in Colorado, CT Worley. So CT, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we were talking off camera a little bit. You've been to a lot of camps. I've been seeing your stuff on Twitter. You've been to a lot of camps, 7-on-7s, practices, stuff like that. So appreciate you taking your time out of that and spending some time with me, man, and chopping it up about football.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So, as I like to do with every guest, I like to start from kind of where they started and kind of where their journey began. And so, want to talk to you about when did you first start showing an interest or being interested in sport in general?
So I started playing football when I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, I played a little bit of soccer and did all the little league basketball kind of stuff.
Got you.
And the whole time I was just like, hey, let me play football. You know, my older brother plays football. My dad played football in high school.
Yeah.
So the whole time that was kind of what I was looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started playing in kindergarten. And
Gotcha.
I had to play up with 9 and 10-year-olds as a 7-year-old.
Oh, okay.
But I thought I held my own pretty well, which is nice. But
Did you always know did you always play quarterback? Did you play any other positions, or did you know you wanted to play quarterbacks from the start?
so in my first and second year, I played offensive line. I played
Okay.
center and guard,
Okay.
and then I played nose guard, linebacker, and defensive end.
Okay. So a variety of you had experience on the offensive side as well as the defensive side of the ball.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so what kind of uh made you like? I know you're on varsity right now at Broomfield. You play quarterback. What kind of drew you to that position versus when you were playing all these other positions on both the offensive line and the defensive side of the ball as well?
So in third grade,
Mm-hmm.
I started playing for my dad. My dad was coaching my older brother and then
Mm-hmm.
stopped, started coaching me when he started playing for a different team.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did all our tryouts and stuff, I was the only one that could throw the ball pretty far. And
Okay.
I had a pretty good sense for how offense worked. So he kind of just told me I'm going to play quarterback. And then it kind of, snowballed. And now I'm here.
Mm-hmm. So it's safe to assume, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're the mentor as a youth football player. Your dad and your brother was probably your biggest mentors growing up. Is that safe to assume on that regard?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
definitely my dad. And I always looked up to my older brother
Mhm.
because it was like, he's your big brother
Yeah.
and you want to do everything your big brother does.
Yeah.
So seeing him play football and play basketball just made me want to do it more.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Is there any one memory? We'll get to high school here in a second, but is there any one core memory that stands out from youth football to you as an outstanding memory or something that you cherish in that regard? Is there one that sticks out to you?
So our 7th grade season, we went undefeated and won our little league championship.
Uh-huh.
And the team that we played in the league championship, one of my best friends that I played basketball with
Yep.
for 2 years was their quarterback.
Mm.
So we had this
Rivalry.
rivalry going on where we hated each other on the field, but then we're almost best friends off the field and on the court.
Mhm.
So that was definitely my favorite game to play in.
Gotcha. That's the one that sticks out.
Yeah.
And those rivalry games are big. I know I mentioned to you I coached with Coach Hickey down there at Broomfield at West, and the West Central rivalry here in Greeley is big, and so I could definitely understand those rivalry games are are a key piece to the football experience for sure. So can you talk about a little bit about now your journey in high school? kind of where you started to where you are now. Can you discuss that a little bit? Kind of your experience with high school football and in high school.
So freshman year, obviously, you go in
Mhm.
not really knowing all that much about how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Because you're brand new to a school,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of the kids that I played football with went to Legacy, which is our rival school.
Yep. Okay.
So it was I kind of just got thrown into this whole new environment.
Hmm.
But thankfully, I had my older brother was at the school at the time,
Hmm.
and all of his friends that I knew from like him growing up playing football with them,
Uh-huh.
they were still playing football, and I had them to look up to, and they kind of took me under their wing, and helped me learn the ins and outs of high school.
Gotcha. Would have been, and then I talked about kind of your youth career and some memorable moments in your youth career. I know, now you're class of 2025, you're a senior. As you reflect or sort of start to reflect on your high school career, what's been kind of the most memorable moment so far um, in your high school career? You could also say it's coming your senior season, but just
Well, I
put
mean,
that out there.
looking with everything that's going on this summer,
Yeah.
it's been I've been having so much fun with my teammates, and we're really trying to focus on enjoying it and putting everything in for our last ride,
Yeah.
which it's just kind of it's surreal,
Mhm.
you know, because I still feel like I'm a freshman or a sophomore, and I have like a couple more years ahead of me, but I don't anymore because
Yeah.
it's all flown by, which is just crazy.
No, it's wild. Senior year, you get to hit that senior year and you realize and this is kind of, I've always thought about like reflecting and the power of reflection and it's key. And I mean, you'll probably feel that throughout this next year for you is just reflecting on your time and not just on the field, but off the field and the friendships and everything that you built over there. It all has to at some point you have to move forward into the collegiate space. But you'll make new friends. And that's the thing is like once you get into college, you make new friends, you build new relationships. And that's the
Yep.
beautiful thing about that. And so throughout your high school career or throughout the second half of your high school career, Coach O'Brien came in. How much has Coach O'Brien helped you as a player?
He's he's instilled a lot of confidence in me, you know. Coming in after a coaching change, it's hard because there's a battle for the new starting quarterback right after our old starter left. He's at Wisconsin now,
Mhm.
which he was one of my biggest mentors in high school.
Yeah,
Like he was that guy that I looked up to and that taught me a lot about the quarterback game and about reading the field
got you.
and just like how the offense worked.
Mhm.
So he was that guy that was in my ear, and not having him around so much going into my junior year was like, okay, this is new, And having Coach O be there, it it instilled a lot of confidence in me that I didn't have to start. Like I
Yeah.
was obviously thinking, this is my time because the other guy's gone, but I was still not the most confident because it was a new coach and everything.
Mhm.
And really just came in and he had my back the whole time and he put a lot of trust in me,
Mhm.
which it really helped our team flow.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And and I know the coaching staff down there is top notch. They're definitely good people down there in Broomfield.
Yes, sir.
Overall. So what's been your biggest? I know you said Coach O'Brien came in and really helped you through the transition of the coaching change and everything of that. But what's been the biggest hurdle or biggest challenge that you faced throughout your high school career so far?
So going into sophomore year, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes,
Mhm.
and having to balance that off and on the field has probably been one of the, you know, biggest hurdles I've had to work through.
Got you.
And it's just like it was life changing, you know.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff that I'm still working on figuring out because
Mhm.
it's still relatively new.
Yep.
But thankfully, one of our senior linebackers from last year
Yeah.
also had type 1 diabetes. So he really helped me, you know, with all the on the field stuff as well as a little bit of the off the field stuff.
Yeah, and it's great to have a friend or somebody to help you through that process. So I'm glad to see you're doing well. I'm glad to see kind of where you're at and what you've achieved through that and overcome that as you're in the process of going through in that process. And so obviously I've seen a lot of your tape or your tweets going around or your posts on X, if I
Yeah.
may, of you going to a variety of different camps, variety of different places. And so kind of when you look at college or college football, what specific aspect or what attribute are you looking for in a college program when you're like looking at these, going through your recruiting process and going through picking a college and kind of where you want to and where you see yourself in that regard?
Well, the first thing that I always like to look at
Mhm,
is their offense and
mhm.
how I can fit into their offensive scheme
Yeah.
because I'm more of a dual threat kind of quarterback, so
Yep.
it doesn't make sense to have me in like a pure only pocket passing where they don't run the quarterback at all.
Gotcha.
Schools like Montana State, I think that I'd really fit into how they run their two quarterback system with
Gotcha.
their having an athletic guy and a pure pocket guy. I
Mhm.
think that I both sides of the system.
Yeah. So you said Montana State's kind of what you're looking at in
Yeah,
that regard. I being in the Big Sky, I can tell you Big Skies, I mean the biggest, I mean I'm pretty biased, but probably the best conference in the FCS. So
they know
yeah,
how to ball up there. That's
they
for
know how
sure.
to ball there for sure, in that regard. And so, and I know nowadays with NIL, all these different aspects coming into the college game. Have you thought about that kind of NIL, a process for attacking NIL when you get to the college that you get to, and kind of how you're going to go about that process? Have you given some thought to that, or?
I've put a little bit of thought into it,
Mhm.
and you know, coming back up with the type 1 diabetes thing, like how Mark Andrews is a really good spokesman for a
Yeah.
lot of the brands for it,
Mhm.
like Dexcom and Tandem. I know
Mhm.
he does a lot of partnership work with them, and
Gotcha.
that's probably something that I'd look more into
Okay.
is some kind of ads or just like getting my name out there, partnering with those kind of companies.
Well, and that's great too because you're bringing awareness to the cause. You know, you're using your NIL to bring awareness to the cause, and that's always great to kind of see, and something that's very personal and near and dear to you. And so that's great to um, kind of see that process. And so, and I always before we get to the end of the episode here, I always give my athletes that I interview a chance to think about kind of what piece of advice that they would give to young youth athletes that are up and coming that want to play football or want to get to where you are playing quarterback at at varsity level now and you're balling out at Broomfield. And so before I do that though, I want to ask you is what's the best piece of advice that you've received, whether it's in your life outside of football or whether it's for your career, kind of what's the best piece of advice you've received overall?
I mean, it's really that you just you got to power through the hard parts.
Mhm.
Like it's not all fun and games, even though it's fun. Football is a ton of fun. It's a
Yep.
great sport to play, but if you want to be good and be able to play it at a high level,
Mhm.
you have to be able to get through a lot of the harder stuff,
Gotcha.
and you have to be able to ask for help and be able to lean on people because you're not going to just be able to do it yourself, especially as a young kid, coming up and trying to figure out everything going on. You really got to ask for help,
Mhm.
ask questions. That's what's definitely helped me the most.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told helps the most is like there's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to football.
Gotcha.
If you don't understand a lot of the stuff going on, ask a question because it's not going to hurt you at all. It's only going to make it better.
Gotcha. And so if you were speaking to young athletes, youth athletes, um, what's the one? Would that be kind of along the lines of what you would tell young people or young people that are starting Pee Wee football, smaller level football that are wanting to be at your level in the future? What's that one piece of advice or one skill set that you would say that they need to work on to get to that level?
It's, it's definitely along the lines of just being able to reach out and ask for help from people
Gotcha.
and learn where you can. But it's also that you got to trust the process.
Yeah.
The coaches that you're going to have are going to try to help you as best they can. And you
Mhm.
got to be able to put faith in those guys and, almost put your head down and grind.
Mhm.
That is the biggest parts of, you know, going from just playing Pee Wee football to, freshman and JV football all
Yeah.
the way up to varsity. And I know for a fact that, going from high school to college level, it's a grind.
Yeah.
You got to put your head down. You got to get in the weight room, work with your coaches, and just learn. You know,
Mhm. And that's, I mean, that's you got to be a sponge, and I love
yeah,
that. Like, learn as much as you can, grind. And I'm a big proponent saying hard work pays off, and that's something that, like I said, I wishing you the best of luck this season. As you obviously you guys are grinding right now,
yeah,
summer. But as you go through your senior season and as you go into college, as well, I mean, I'm gonna be rooting for you. I'm gonna be watching. I'll watch from afar, but I'll be
yeah.
paying attention to Broomfield this season,
Appreciate it,
as
coach.
well. So I'll be watching from afar, but I'll be paying attention to Broomfield as well. But thank you so much for your advice, from all your insights, and things that you've provided today. But that's all the time we have for this episode of the Athlete
Yeah,
Insights podcast. CT, want to appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time, man.
yeah. Thanks for having me on. You know,
I'll have your social media. I'll have CT's social media on the video. I'll have him in the description as well on Spotify and the other Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts as well. You'll see our my social medias as well. You can follow CT, his journey through his senior season and into college and beyond, to kind of see what the great things that he accomplishes moving forward. And then you can also follow our podcast on YouTube, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, pretty much everywhere you get a podcast, CT, you'll find this one. So
well,
appreciate you again, and we'll see you next time.